Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of April. I want to talk a lot about compassion, and that it is the door through which all can enter in. Not Jesus, not the person. It was compassion that is the door through which all can enter in indiscriminately. I want to show you this here. And I want to talk about prophets, and I want to talk about what we are and what it is we're doing. Because we absolutely need to know what it is we're doing in order to have self-determination. We have to understand ourselves. We need to know what we are. So I want to show you this here. Now I will use words like God, probably a lot. Then let me make very clear what it is I'm talking about. I am not talking about the creator of all. That is not the meaning of the word God. In the Bible, everything is God. They have hidden the truth by pinning the same label onto everything. What is the meaning inside of that label? There are very different meanings in that book. But you can no longer see, you can no longer distinct. You can make no distinction between the different parts because everything has got the same label. It's not the same thing. That is the way the truth was hidden. The true understanding was hidden. And of course, to make it appear that there is only one, and it's all the same, when it absolutely is not. So, to me, the creator is the field in which everything plays out. By it, everything is created. Without it, nothing is created. It is the field out of which consciousness is birthed. And it is still connected to the field. It always is. There is no, you cannot be disconnected from the creator. You would not exist if you were. Can't be. There can be nothing outside of it because it is all. But God is a being that has its being inside of that field. God is self-conscious. God has got knowledge of self, completely self-conscious. That is the level of God. It is a level of consciousness. But that is an individual being. It is not all. So people say at the moment, running around saying, oh, I am in service to the living God. I have knowledge of the living God. Means you have knowledge of another living being, something that is still has life. That means it is still in movement. Yeah? It's still existing. That is what you're connected to when you say, I'm connected to the living God. You're connected to another being. That is most certainly not all. So if I say the field in which it all plays itself out, I think that field does contain knowledge. It will give knowledge that is contained in it. And there may be knowledge in the field that is no longer connected to a living consciousness. Because consciousness is not eternal, only the field is, not what is created out of it. But the knowledge of it may still exist in the field, so that in a way you could say it's the knowledge of the dead. Yeah? But if you say you have knowledge of the living God, you definitely have or been given knowledge of something that is still in existence. You are connected to another being. So the level of man, it's funny, in the Kabbalah, they are not actually saying level of man, they're saying the speaking level. Yeah, from the animal to the speaking level. Where you're on the level where you can talk, it talks. Look, it talks. But it's not necessarily self-aware. That would be the level of a god, which many have not reached at all. They have no self-determination. They don't even understand self. In fact, they reject self because they've been taught to reject self. Self is a bad thing because it doesn't serve the one that wants to rule over you, the living God, who is not all, absolutely not the all, not the creator. So that's where we're at. We are consciousness in this field, and we can connect. Not only can we connect, we do connect. We always connect. We are channeling other consciousness, probably without being aware of it, most of us. Again, there is not the self-awareness that is on the level of God. You're still on the level of man. You can talk, but you haven't figured out where it's coming from. So, right. So here we come to the prophet. And really where people do not understand Jesus. And I really think that is the bit that really drove him insane. They didn't get it. When he said over and over and over again, I am not the one talking. Yeah? Oh, Jesus will come save you. Jesus was not the one speaking. He kept saying that. Yeah? It's not me. I am a channel for another being. I'm making that other being known by speaking its words. Yeah? And I do not think for myself. I do not speak for myself. The self that is Jesus, the consciousness that is Jesus, is what stepped aside. Yeah? To let the other through. And that's a prophet. It's a channel for another consciousness. Without any self-determination. Without any judgment about what is being spoken. Not judging good and bad. Just saying it. Just let it through. I'm saying this because I think there are prophets in this world now. Channels. True prophets. True channels. That will let something else through indiscriminately. And then we come to who is speaking. That's the question, isn't it? Who is speaking? Who knows? Who is saying? And in a prophet, it's something else that is speaking. I say we are channeling all the time. Thoughts that we have are not our own thoughts, but information that we've picked up out of the field. Yeah? You can have a thought in your head that came from somebody else because you have a connection to them. You have a connection to them. That is reality. That is a part of reality that you do not see, and for most part we are not aware of. We do not fully understand. But it's there. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not there. It's there. It's real. It's reality on the energetic level. And it's real. So if the prophet speaks, not his own words, but something else is speaking, Now, right, okay, I will talk about David Icke. I mean, you will know it's him anyway. But if David Icke says, we are all that ever was and ever will be, we are trapped on a narrow band of consciousness, we are in the darkness, yeah? That is something else speaking. There's something out there that is saying, we are all there ever was and ever will be. We are trapped on a narrow band of consciousness. We are trapped. I think that's really, and that is what you must understand. It's not David Icke speaking. I don't think it is. There's something speaking through him. Knowledge was given, and he is the sound box, as Jesus was the sound box for another consciousness. Right. And then we must understand ourselves, because it is already playing out, compassion. It's already playing out in this world amongst ourselves, never mind the others out there. And we already see the outcome. And be aware of what it is we're doing in compassion. And compassion does not judge. Compassion is blind. Absolutely blind. Because compassion does not ask how something got into the mess that they're in. True compassion wouldn't ask that. It will just open itself up in the desire to help. Because it sees suffering, because, it wants to help, to do away with suffering. That's compassion. It's a desire. It's an energy that goes out from you to connect to something else in order to save. That is compassion. And as I said, it's blind because it does not judge how something got into the mess they're in. And you should ask yourself that question, because that question is very important. How did they get into that mess? And the only way, so if your compassion goes out, connects in order to save, the only way it can create the correct outcome if it meets repentance. That means the other side is open to receiving your energy, and it has acknowledged that there is something wrong with themselves, and that there needs to be a change, and there needs to be a desire for that change. Yeah? That is repentance. The acknowledgement that something is wrong and the desire for a change. And only if that is there can your compassion truly work. Because one way is the desire to change isn't there. That door is not, they are not open to the thought of, I'm going to change. I will change. I will make this better. They're close to that. Then your compassion will bounce itself off a brick wall. They are closed. It cannot enter. But there's another way. There's another thing that can happen. And here is that the other tells you that they are in repentance. They want a change. But that's not the truth. But they want you to connect with your compassion. They want of that energy. And here's the thing. Because this is our internet. The true internet. Where energies connect, information travels, things happen. The energy of living things. The internet of living things. Of those that have life. those that have consciousness. So once you open yourself, your door is wide open. And I mean, a compassion will throw the barn door open as wide as you can. Again, your negative emotions, fear, anything else will narrow, what can get through. It is what closes the door. So there is regulating your own energies. Yeah? That is self-determination. You are in charge of your own energies. If you understand. Again, you're being taught to do away with the negative emotions. Be all compassion. Throw the barn door open. Yeah? Without judgment. Don't judge. Don't ask. And once you have established that connection to another, that is a two-way connection. And as I said, what you have connected to may not be your friend. You may have been deceived in their intentions. It's playing out in this world. In countries, we're being driven into compassion to help others, not to judge them. We're letting them into our countries and we're finding out that some of them are not our friends. Some of them will kill us. Some of them will kill our children. It's already playing out in this world. Do you want to make it a wider reality? A greater reality? Doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. There won't be. As below, so above. And as I said, some stories that we tell are spiritual stories, even though they do not say they are. But they are born out of the knowledge of the spirit, of the energetic level. Lord of the Rings is one of them. Most certainly is a spiritual story. And there's something in that story, I think, that is probably describing a truth. And that is the ring itself. Yeah? Which opens, creates a connection into another reality. So as long as you're not wearing the ring, the riders of Mordor are only shadows. You know they're there, you can see them, you're aware of them, but they're only shadows and they cannot touch you. But once you put on the ring, you slip into their reality. You have formed the connection. Through the connection. They become real. And they can hurt you. For real. And I think that's how it works. Once we have formed the connection on an energy in the internet of life, we know what is on the other end. And it will be real. It is a real experience. It becomes a reality. It's experienced as a reality. And as I say, you connect to the wrong thing because you have thrown yourself wide open in compassion without any discernment, without any thought, without any judgment. And what will come through on that energy may not be your friend. You may have been deceived. I say we already know that as a reality in this world. We're experiencing it right now. But once you get to heaven, it's all going to be different, because they're all beings of light and love and whatever. That's not reality. I don't think that is the reality of creation. Look at the Bible and what those things are doing, and it's most certainly not the reality of creation. Yeah? So there we are. And let's go back to David Icke. So if we realize that that might be something, that those are not his words, and it's not talking about us. When it says we, it's something out there speaking. It's not us. We are all there is and ever will be. We are trapped on a narrow band of consciousness. Is it we want to be saved? We want to be brought in to this world. So we are not the ones being saved, but we are the ones doing the saving. I think that's where this is going. I really think this is where this is going. Yeah? We must let them in order to save them. But then if you really listen to what they're saying and know them, reason about what they might be, if they're out there saying, we are all there ever was and ever will be, then you should know that you're talking to something that is at best deluded and at worst completely insane. Because no part is all, and the part thinks itself all. It is deluded, and the Hermetics have already said, the contemplation of all, thinking you are all, will lead to insanity. So chances are they are insane. But you are supposed to open yourself up in compassion, to let them in. Maybe one last thing, because the outcome has been revealed. The outcome has been revealed in the book of the Revelation. You know it. You've been told. You know where you're going. You're going into destruction. The way of denial of self, the way of compassion, will lead you into destruction. Yeah? Doing away with anything that would speak against it, anything that would narrow, that would cut off your energy from something else. You're doing away with that. That way will lead into destruction. That is the end of that book of the Bible. That is the way, and that is the end. So you already know the outcome. All is for you is to say, how the hell do we get there? What are we doing that we're getting there? Understanding yourself, understanding what we are doing. That will get us there. To the point where we're being slaughtered. And that is the way. The way of denial of self and of destruction, of compassion. Indiscriminate compassion. Compassion, only compassion. Nothing speaking against it. Now, there's something else in the book of the Revelation. And that is the saints, those that went the way of the cross, those that went the way of denial of self. Somehow they're coming back. There's something bringing them back. Yeah? And now, then let's look at those that have gone on that path. Are they beings of beautiful light and compassion? Are they filled with love? Are they singing the praises of the kingdom and their wonderful experience that they had? The saints are beneath the throne. They're given power to the throne of New Jerusalem. Who said that God is sitting on a powder cake? You know, I really think the throne should have a little label at the side of it, you know, Acme. Because one of these days that thing will blow, and apparently it is supposed to skyrocket him into godliness or something, I don't know. It's a bit weird. Still, okay, let's look at the saints and their energy. They're in wrath. It is the wrath of the saints that is coming back. They're looking for revenge on a false prophet. They were lied to. They were deceived. They got hurt. They got hurt. Because once you are open to the core, you will get hurt. If the wrong thing is traveling on that two-way connection, you're letting it in right to the core, and you will get hurt badly, and it will be real. They got hurt, and they're in wrath. They're looking for revenge. Again, should we let them in? Filled with compassion. If their desire was for healing, again, there's repentance. If the desire of the saints was for healing, yes, let them in. Let them in, and let's try to heal each other. Why not? We should. Because in the end, that's what compassion is there for. It's to heal. That is not their desire. That is not their intention. Their intention is for revenge. That is why they serve or are in service of the God of New Jerusalem, because they will go and destroy. They're in wrath. They want revenge. They will kill the saints. That is why they are in service to our God. They will be his army. And again, offering our compassion to that cannot work, because they're not open to that. They don't want healing. They are not desiring healing. You're offering healing, but they're not desiring it. It will not work. They want revenge. And again, your compassion will do nothing. It cannot work. They cannot receive it. They're not open to that. But again, your compassion, in the first instance, your compassion will be the gate. You are the stargate. Your energies are forming the connections. That is the wider reality, and it is real. You better believe it's real. Yeah, it's not a fairy tale. You're in it. It's happening now. You are that which it's opening its gate through which all can enter in. That is not a gate where we enter into heaven. That is the gate where heaven will come to earth through us. First the word, and then we will do according to the word, and then a reality. And it's high time we understood what it is we're doing. Because we're doing it. On a level of ourselves that we do not understand. We need to understand. And there will be cause and effect. We will not be beyond cause and effect. To say to hell with the consequences. Yeah? No, don't say that. Because there will be consequences. So, last thing, and I want to talk about myself, because I was thinking about myself. Am I a prophet? I'm trying extremely hard not to be a prophet. I'm trying extremely hard not to be a prophet. not to indiscriminately let anything in, but to reason about it for myself, from the perspective of self, and through that knowing myself, knowing what I am, knowing what my energies work, and I am learning how to be in control of what it is I'm doing. And everybody should do that. Being a self does not mean you're selfish. It doesn't. Knowing how to open yourself and how to close yourself does not mean you are selfish. But you are the experience of life. This is your life. These are your energies. You will suffer the consequences, good or bad. Then who should determine what you do with your energies to create an outcome? Who should be the judge? If you are suffering the consequences, then you should be at least make your own decisions. You should have the right to make your own decisions. There is self-determination. Doesn't mean you're selfish. You can open yourself up. You can give in compassion. Absolutely you can. You should. If it works, if it's wise to do so. If you are not getting hurt in the process because you're connecting to something that, does not want to change, thinks it should rule over everything, and you're letting that in, you're getting hurt. And no, nobody should say that sacrifice, that you should make that sacrifice, that you have to make that sacrifice. You don't. You don't have to. Have self-determination. And if something is wrong, then let your anger and your fear close the door, because that is wisdom. Anyway, here, I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.